Hi guys, it's a new video. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and also welcome to the third episode of Kupas Tuntas. Okay, before I go further to discuss the topic for today, don't forget to subscribe my channel by clicking the subscribe button and then turn on notification so that you won't miss any single video on my YouTube channel. Okay guys, so usually I do this segments on my YouTube channel in Bahasa Indonesia. But then a few weeks ago, I was started to think that probably I should start doing it in English so that there will be more people benefited from watching my videos, and I hope so. So that's why I'm going to start using English for this video. I'll probably still do videos in Bahasa Indonesia anyway, once in a while, but to have some variety of videos in English and Bahasa Indonesia, I think it'll be more interesting for my YouTube channel itself. And probably I need to just let those of you who don't know Bahasa Indonesia what Kupas Tuntas means, because this is a segment for Kupas Tuntas. I don't think there's a right term in English for that. Let me know if there is a term in English for that, but Kupas Tuntas basically means that discussing the topic in details. So that's why, unlike my other segments on this YouTube channel, I don't have a particular limit in regards to the duration for Kupas Tuntas. For example, for my vlog, I set 15 minutes. For in talks, I set around 20 minutes maximums. But for this one, I can go further for 30, even 40 minutes or even 50 minutes, as long as I've covered everything in details. So yeah, let's go straight to it then. Okay, so basically the topic that I'll be discussing today is, I can say, the most requested, because I have received so many DMs, so many emails asking me how to write a good motivation letter. So because I received so many questions through DMs and emails asking me about motivation letter, I figure it'll be just easier for me and for all of you as well if I just do YouTube video for it. But I just want to note some few things here, that first of all, I'm not an expert in writing motivation letter, I'd say. And then secondly, I have never been a part of scholarship committee that assess scholarship application, but I am someone who has applied for so many scholarships and also youth programs in the past. I have had successful applications, and I have had failures as well, that some of my applications didn't go through. So that's why all the things that I'll be discussing today is purely based on my experience as a scholarship hunter. I learned so much from so many blogs. I learned so much from so many other people, so many of my friends. I asked them directly how to write motivation letters. So I have basically the experience on how to outline it, and what are the things that I should put in my motivation letter in order to have it look more interesting for others to read. And so yeah, it's basically it's a letter for us to show our own motivation and our own skills, our own potentials, so that others will be interested to give us the scholarship. So that is the thing that I would like to note. And also I received so many requests to send my motivation letter or personal statement. Unfortunately, I cannot do that. I cannot send my personal statement or motivation letter, not because I don't want to. There are a few reasons for that. The first one is that because it's personal for me, and then the second reason for that is because I don't want to give you a box that you should follow. Again, for motivation letter, there is no exact format. It is just a guideline for you how to write a letter that shows your own potentials and capabilities. So that's why I don't want to send you my statements, my personal statements or motivation letter, and then make an impression that this is how a motivation letter should look like. No. So that's why what I'm going to do is just to give you some guidance on it based on what I have learned from other people as well. So this is just a sharing. Later on we'll discuss it in details, but those are the things that I would like you to know about myself, and also about why I cannot send my own personal statement or motivation letter to you guys. So that's about it for the introduction. I guess I don't want to talk too much about some introduction thingy, but what I want you to do is that if you have any further questions about these things, you can also comment down below, and then we are able to discuss a few things as well on the comment section. Okay, let's go straight to the discussion. Okay guys, so this is what we are going to discuss today about motivation letter and personal statement. I wonder, back then when I first started to have a look and learn about motivation letter and personal statement, how to write them, I was wondering what are the differences, and I believe you guys are wondering too, probably some of you, what are the differences. Basically, when we want to know the difference between these two, it's easily identified by looking at these two words, motivation and personal. Basically, these two letters, they are all personal. Motivation letter, we have to write it in a personal way as well, so that the readers can kind of connect with us in a personal level, at a personal level. Meanwhile, personal statement are more talking about experience, I'd say. So it is important to us to be personal, and then honest, and then genuine. So we put us as a person in that letter, so that the readers can see our personality by reading our personal statement. So when we describe our experience, on that personal statement, they can relate to us at personal level, and that is important. With motivation letter, the word motivation here kind of refer to future. So that means that your study plan. Okay, so it is important to write motivation letter in a personal way, so that they could connect to us at personal level as well. But the focus of motivation letter more into the future, more into our goals or our future. What are our goals in the next 5 years, for example, 10 years, and what we would like to contribute to our country in the future, for example. So these kind of things differ motivation letter with personal statement, although they are kind of really related to each other. So these two are usually used for jobs application and also academic purposes. For academic purposes, usually used to apply scholarships and also to get letter of acceptance from the universities. And today in this video, we will be discussing about the use of motivation letter and personal statement for academic purposes and how we should write them. As we're focusing on the scholarship, on the motivation letter and personal statement for scholarships purposes, I have listed a few scholarships here that I have in mind. I believe there are more scholarships that you can find on the internet. There are lots of scholarships available at the moment, campus scholarship, and also these are the government scholarships that I know. There's Indonesian government scholarship, Australian government scholarship, New Zealand government scholarship, German governments, and then also there's a scholarship from European Union. My master degree was fully funded by Indonesian government through LPDP or LPDP. During my undergraduate study, I had a chance to study for 1 semester in Finland through Erasmus Plus scholarship. When I applied for Erasmus, I was asked to provide motivation letter. When I applied for LPDP, they asked me to write 2 essays. And as far as I know, Australian government and New Zealand government will ask the candidates or the applicants to answer a few questions. So based on these, we can see that different scholarship providers will require different kind of I'd say motivation letter or personal statement from the candidates. It can be in the form of essay. With essays, it kind of like they give us a topic or a theme that we need to write, and then a word limit. With motivation letter, they will ask us to write down what is our motivation to apply, and then our goals, our study goals. With personal statement, again, or our experience and what makes us a good candidate. And with answering questions, it's just a way for them to avoid the candidates to talk quote unquote rubbish. That means sometimes when we are given a freedom to write a motivation letter, we can just go out there and then talk here and there without a focus. So having a questions and then ask the candidates to answer those questions, it will help the candidates as well to be more focused in giving the idea of why they are a good candidate for the scholarship. So that's basically some basic ideas of motivation letter and personal statement, essays, or answering questions from the scholarship provider. So what is actually the first step that we need to do when we are as a scholarship hunter? The first thing that we need to do, of course, checking the requirements on the website, and this is really important. It's not just about the requirements whether we are eligible or not, but also the requirements in regards to motivation letter. Even if you want to ask them further, just email them, and then you can ask what are the requirements for personal statement or motivation letter. Sometimes they define the length of motivation letter. It can be to like 1 page only or 2 pages. So you have to make sure whether they have requirements or not for that. And then sometimes the scholarship provider even give you format for it, template with certain fonts that you need to follow. So make sure you know all these requirements, and also you have to know whether they give you questions or not. If not, that means you are given a freedom to write your own motivation letter or personal statement. But if you have been given questions, that means you have to write down your answers, and basically making sure that your answers are kind of giving the right point that this is me, I'm worth the scholarships. So these kind of things that you need to be careful. So check the requirement, and then if you're not clear, go email them. They'll be happy to answer, and that's based on my experience. I usually email them right away if I don't have any clarity on the requirements on the websites. So yeah, don't be afraid to email them, okay? Because, for example, if you ask other people like me, for example, for certain scholarships that I haven't even applied for, they'll be hard for me to answer. So you go right to them, the committee or that admin of the website. They usually have the contact person. So go email them and then check all the requirements that you need to do for motivation letter or personal statement. So now, let's see some scenarios here, shall we? The first scenario here is that when you got no questions to answer, that means you are free to go to write down anything on your motivation letter or personal statement, which can be tricky sometimes, because the freedom means that you are able to go out there writing it, and then you're just able to explore things. But on the other side, sometimes, like I said, you can talk and talk, write and write. Sometimes you just go out of the focus, and that's tricky. That's the tricky part of it, and that's dangerous when you go without the focus, when you write the motivation letter without the clear focus on what you want to actually address on your letter. So that's why I'm going to explain here, to discuss. I'm not really explaining kind of like a teaching process here, but it's just a sharing session. So the first scenario is that when you got no questions. Okay, when you got no questions, the big question then is that what should I write? Okay, so when you now the next step is that you open the Word document in front of your laptop, and then you ask yourself, what should I write now? Because basically you are given a freedom. You can write down anything, but then you are stuck because you don't know what to write. And that's basically happened to me as well in the past. So let's see what are the tricks here that I do. The first thing is do some research first about scholarship providers, their vision and their missions. This is important. Why? Because when we apply to the scholarship, that means the scholarship providers will try to find the candidates that suits their objectives, right? For example, LPDP, for example, LPDP. So LPDP will try to find the candidates that Let me just put this way. So LPDP, of course, when they would like to assess the applicants, they have criteria for the candidates that they want to choose, right? So that's why it is important to do some research about scholarship providers to know what type of candidates that they are looking for by knowing their vision, mission, objectives, and etc., values and norms that they have, so that you kind of know what they want, and then you know how to filter your ability and information and experience that you want to address on your letter. So this is what I'm doing for the first time whenever I applied for anything, that I do some research first about scholarship providers. Have a look at their objectives again, their aims. So based on that, you can kind of break down what they see in the candidates, and that's important, because after that you'll be able to try to position that yourself as an examiner. So I usually do create outlines whenever I'm writing anything. So it is important to create outlines. So creating outlines is usually based on this. So I do some research about scholarship providers. I know what they want to see in the candidates, and then I position myself as an examiner. So that means I'll be able to ask myself these questions. What do you want to find in a candidate? And the answers are from here and here. Okay, so sometimes we focus on, because if we don't know this information, sometimes we focus on, is it only achievements? Sometimes we just wonder, like, I don't have enough achievements, I don't have enough certificates. How do I have the opportunity to get the scholarships? And by knowing these things, by knowing the vision, mission, objectives, values that they have, we'll be able to examine what criteria that they have in order to find the right candidate. And then by that we can narrow it down to what kind of information that they want to know from the essay, from the motivation letter. So that's why the definition of achievements here is actually really large. So it's a huge here, the concept of achievements. It's not just about having many certificates, but other things, experiences as well, our ability to work in teams, those are achievements. So we can only narrow it down if we are able to know what are their goals in giving the scholarships to the people. Okay, so that's why it is important to know that motivation letter is not a CV. Motivation letter or personal statement is not a CV. Okay, so some people, there's so many candidates, so many people, when they write motivation letter, they're kind of like repeating the same information that are already on the CV. For example, I'll show you my CV here. Okay, so here's my CV. Yeah, I got the information of my master thesis, bachelor thesis, my journal, conference paper, newspaper, magazines, and then my achievements here, work experience. So I have basically all these informations that I want them to know about me. Okay, some people, when they write their motivation letter, they're kind of repeating these informations that are already on the CV, and then they just write down, okay, so in 2019 I have done my thesis, my master's thesis on assessing budgetary management of local government in Aceh, and then for my bachelor thesis I did the influence of bankruptcy prediction model, and then I have one journal paper, and then I also have presented 2 papers. And those are just basically mentioning the things that are already on CV. They have read that. But now what they want to know is that the process of it, the idea, what's behind this CV that makes it interesting, that makes you yourself is an interesting candidate. So for example, work experience. If we just mention in the motivation letter, we just mention, okay, so in 2016 to 2018, I was an English tutor at this institution. And in October 2019, I worked as a research assistant here. But that's not really interesting. That's information that not really interesting, isn't it? What makes it interesting is that the process that you did during your work experience. What did I do when I was an English tutor? I usually, for example, my way of teaching is like this, and then I communicate with the student this way. Those are the interesting information that you need to mention in your motivation letter or personal statement. Be personal with them and then tell them what's happening behind your achievements or research experiences. For example, when I did my master's thesis, I kind of analyze my findings with this theory. Why? Because I find this, and then from that they'll be able to know your way of thinking. So that's why motivation letter is not the same as CV, because the purpose of them asking you to provide motivation letter is that because they want to know your personality or your way of thinking or work ethics. So if you just mention the information that you got here on the CV and then you mention it on a motivation letter, basically having it on the paragraphs rather than points like this, you're not able to show them these things. So that's why it is important for you to explore what's behind your CV. Okay? And that what makes it different than the CV. And when you go and up to this process, for example, up to this point, you'll be kind of like overwhelmed with the information that you got about yourself. Okay, so you got these points about your achievements and research experience, for example, and then it kind of like overwhelmed with okay, I would like to write this and this and this, for example, this, which is basically important for you to filter them out. So filter them out. Okay, because up to this point you'll be able to write down your outline. Okay, it is important for you to make an outline for your motivation letter. So when you get the outline, you'll be able to filter them out. How? By knowing the first point. After you do some research, you know what they want. Okay, so you'll be able to filter what kind of information that you want to focus here, and then you position yourself as an examiner. Based on that, you'll be able to see which informations about yourself that is interesting to tell. Okay, so that's important for you to note. And then the way in writing it, okay, the way to write your information. So you got the information already that you want to write. Okay, you have filtered out through your CV. You know what's behind the things that that happen on your CV that you want to tell, so that you can address this your personality, way of thinking, and work ethics. So the way to write it is that by being personal and genuine, both for personal statement or motivation letter. So you need to show your uniqueness, okay, show your abilities, and then show that you are able to help them achieve their vision and mission. Okay, this relates again to this part, which is really important. So this is the way that you have to write motivation letter. So show them that you are. Show them another thing that you can show is that your attitude. They can assess this. They can assess you. They can assess these things based on the way you write. Okay, believe it or not, it will show through your sentences, through the choice of words that you use. So that's why it is important for you to be personal and genuine, and then you also have to know what they want in the candidates. So this is an important point because you have to check the requirements. You have to note, usually it's 1 to 2 pages. don't write too much. You have to filter it out. So that's why it is important to outline, and then after that you filter them out based on your own research about scholarship provider, and then after you position yourself on examiner, you'll be able to filter them out. Why I said don't write too much? Because can you imagine, like, they are assessing thousands of applications. So if you don't stand out, your motivation letter will just be thrown away like that. So you need to be concise, let's say. Keep it simple, short, personal, but stands out. And that is important. So you can write just one page or 2 pages. But as long as you make sure that the information that you give in your motivation letter makes you stands out and makes you can show that you can show your uniqueness, your abilities, and then show them that you are able to help them to achieve their vision or mission. And that is important. Okay, so yeah, so that's an important point that I would like to note here. Don't write too much. Okay, I missed one O here. Don't write too much, filter it. Yeah, because they don't have time to read, for example, 5 pages of motivation letter, because they have thousands of applications. So 1 to 2 pages, that's fine. That's good. I think that's a good length for motivation letter or personal statement. And then that's the first scenario when you got no questions, so you are able to explore it freely. And then what happens when you got questions? Okay, I have just 2 points here. Basically, all the things that I've already shared to you in this scenario, you can use this with question scenario. So I like to work offline. So usually these days the applications are open online. So they will post some questions on Google Docs, for example, Google Forms, or their own websites. So you work offline, so copy and paste all the questions to Word document, so that do not work directly on the online form, because sometimes you won't be able to see how the questions related to each other. But by working offline, so you copy and paste the questions to Word document, you'll be able to see the common thread here from the questions, and also you will be able to tie your answers so that it kind of talking one beautiful story together, although they are divided into different parts based on the questions. So I'm going to show you the questions of one of the scholarships. I'm not going to say which scholarships are these questions from, but this is the questions that are often given in scholarships. So first of all, you'll be asked, why did you decide to apply to study in what countries? For example, UK or New Zealand or Australia. Okay, so you'll be given the limit here, 250 words. And then if you are successful in being awarded a scholarship, what challenges do you think you will face living and studying in different countries, and how do you intend to overcome these? So include both study and family requirements. And then what skills and knowledge do you hope to gain from your proposed study? So these questions, if you have a look and read them carefully, they're kind of related to each other. Okay, so the first question, why did you decide to apply to study in the UK, for example? So you're kind of trying to give them the answers that show that, oh, UK is great because of this, and this. And then on the other hand, what would be the challenges when you face what would be the challenges that you think you will face when you live in the UK with these great circumstances? Because the first questions kind of like ask you to give the positive sides of the country, but the second questions, there will be study and family challenges when you study abroad. So that's why these two kind of related to each other. So you can answer them separately, but you can try to find this common thread, which is really important, to tie these two questions together, so that to some extent they create a beautiful story that you can tell through these two questions. Okay, and then these two, and then these three are kind of the same as well. So for example, let's see, what skills and knowledge do you hope to gain from your proposed study? And why are the skills and knowledge you describe important to your country's development? And how will you use your knowledge and skills to contribute to development of your home country? So by working offline like this, you'll be able to narrow it down and break down the questions, skills and knowledge. So here, why the skills and knowledge important to your country's development? And then from this your country development, you'll be able to see how you will use your knowledge and skills to contribute to development of your home country. So these three questions, different questions, but they are related to each other. So you can also put your different answers, which can also be related, which then also create a great stories that you can tell through three different questions. So that's why I said common thread, finding the common thread from the questions and the answers is really important, so that you can tell the story in a personal and genuine way, so that you can show your uniqueness, abilities, and show them why you are able to help them to achieve their vision and mission. So these are two more points that you need to do when you have questions to answer. Basically, all the other points can be used both for no question scenario and with question scenario. Okay, so I think that's all. Yeah, that's all the points that I'd like to share. And yeah, so let me see, just make sure that I don't miss anything. So yeah, these are the things that I learned so far from my experience writing motivation letter. Yeah, there you go. Okay guys, so that's about it. That's all that I can share to you about motivation letter for today's topic on Kupas Tuntas. Hopefully it is beneficial for you, and then you can get some things that you can develop later on for your own motivation letter. Yeah, all the best for your application. Let me know if you have further questions. We can discuss anything. Comment down below, and then don't forget to subscribe my channel and then turn on notification. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and see you on the next video. Bye bye.